have a terminal. You're going to need your password. I'm sure you can reset it. So when you type which Git in here, it should tell you that you have it somewhere. Oh, and at any point, if I like type a command and you're like, what does that do? Just interrupt me and ask, because I will happily tell you. And while you're double checking that, so I just want to gauge where you guys are, because there are a lot of things that I could talk about. So just tell me if you are familiar with these things and you like remember how to do them with zero help. Okay, so do you remember how to commit and push code from the command line?
No.
Okay, no, okay. So do you remember anything about git reset?
No.
Okay.
But your terminal was called non-worker, so.
Anyone?
I don't use Git reset.
You never use git reset? Okay.
Git reset.
Well, we're gonna learn today. Okay.
Cool.
We're gonna do all these things. Merge conflicts. Do you know how to fix a merge conflict?
I know how to look at the error message.
Okay, well that's step one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do that. And do you know how to fork a repo and create a pull request? Yeah, you can do it online. I'm assuming you can do it from the command line too, but no one ever does. Okay, so we might skip over that portion because I don't think we'll have time for all of this. Okay, so everyone's ready so you should have two things open. Your GitHub homepage looks like this, and a terminal of some sort where you have Git installed. Everyone good? Okay, so the things we're going to talk about today are a brief overview of Git and how it works, and then I guess we'll go through the basic workflow of how to commit and push from the command line, and then we'll talk about some ways that you can fix problems. So we'll talk about Git reset, which lets you undo changes that you've made before you push them and after you push them, and how to fix things if you like make a mistake and you accidentally commit it, and how to fix merge conflicts. And then if we have time, we can also talk about branches and forks and pull requests. Okay. And at any point if you have questions, please raise your hand and stop me and I will answer you. So I drew this lovely diagram. So this is just a brief overview of Git and how it works. So Git is a version control system, as you probably know, which helps you manage changes that you're making to the code, especially while other people are also making changes to the same code that might conflict with yours. So this is kind of a bottom-up diagram. So the first thing you do is you make changes and then use Git add to add them to your staging area. And the staging area is basically just telling Git, these are the changes that I want to add to my commit. And then Git commit creates your commit, which is just a record of the changes that you've made so that other people can pull down the same changes as you. And after that, these commits are stored in your local repository, which is the copy that lives on your machine. And then push and pull. Push lets you transfer your changes from your local repo to the master repo, which is kind of like the central one that lives on GitHub server somewhere that everyone pushes and pulls to. And then pull pulls down the most recent changes from the master to your local commit. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Okay. So everyone has their own local version, and then you push and pull to the master. If you don't have direct push access to the master, that's when you use forking, and you fork it and you make your own, sort of your own master copy, and then you make all your changes, and then you submit a pull request that says, hey, please take my changes from my version back to the main version. So any questions about this workflow? Okay, let's do it then. The best way to learn is by doing. So when you open up your GitHub page, it should look something like this. It has a lovely news feed. And over here on the right, you'll see a list of all the repositories that you currently have. And I have a lot. So click this button that says New Repository. And name your repository something fun. I'm going to name mine Fancy Repo. Name yours something different. And it's going to be public unless you want to pay for a private repo. And then check this box that says initialize this repo with a README, because that will allow you to clone your repository immediately. And it'll just create a blank README file for you. So give it a name, check initialize with a README, and then click create repository. And if it doesn't work or you get stuck, let me know and I'll help you. And so then you should end up on a screen that looks like this. Do you need help?
Right there. Oh, you're in your profile, so you can tell your college. And then click the name. And then that'll take you, yes. So then put in the name and check that box.
Yeah, the button is in a different place depending on which page you're on. So once you have your repo name and you check that box, you will end up on a page like this. And it shows you that currently you have one file, which says the name of your repo. It's not very exciting. And if you want to look at the commits, your commit history, you can click on the thing that says one commit and it'll show you all your commits. So once you're done with that, go to this clone or download button over here, and we're going to clone it. So if you just click this button here, it'll copy that, and this is the URL of your repo. So everyone copy that, and then come over to your terminal, and so you want to have a folder where you want to store your repo. I call mine Git, so I know exactly what it is. And then to make your own copy of your repo, you're going to do git clone and then paste your repo name. And this just says, give me a copy of that master and make a copy locally. And then it should spit out some stuff. Most of it's not important, but it says done. And now if you do ls, you should see your repo here. So mine's called fancy repo. And then you can cd into your repo. And if you ls there, you will see that you have readme. So now you have your own local copy. Is everyone good? Stop me if you are not good.
Okay. Oh, so after git clone, you want to paste the name of your It's okay. Just go to GitHub. All right, and then click on publishers. So this is also our publishers, so familiar to me. And I'll click that color down link, and then people and I'll copy it. Okay, so then in your terminal, after git clone, you want to paste that. So when you git clone, and paste that URL. And so that. A control shift. Let's try control shift. If that doesn't work, try right click and so oh, you don't put them in the little like thing. And go yeah, try right clicking. Oh, right click. Yeah, right click down here and then yeah. Sorry, you have Windows. Windows is the worst. Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it's because you're on Windows. That's the problem. Try copying it. Yeah, I see that. And I think the Windows shell doesn't have very HTTP. Yes, so the ls, you should see the name of yours. So there's cool stuff. So you use cd and cool stuff where you get your yeah. Okay. So everyone has their repo. So the next step is to create a file. So we're going to create a bash file. If that doesn't work for you, you can just create a text file. It doesn't really matter. And you can use any text editor you want. I'm going to use Emacs because that's the one that I like. But it doesn't matter what you use. You can use, whatever. So we're here. So I'm going to create a file called hello.sh. And this is going to be our hello world file.
And since I'm doing bash, I'm doing #bing/bin/bash, and that tells us that it's going to be a bash script. If you have a Mac, this should work for you. No promises about Windows. If it doesn't, just make it a text file and you'll be fine. It doesn't matter if this actually runs for you, for our purposes today. And add some text. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'm going to do hello world because that's what we always do. And echo just says print that to the screen. Once you've created your file, you can make it say anything you want. Save it and close it, and then you should see it here. And if you want to run your script, do chmod +x, and then hello.sh. And now, if your terminal has color, it should be a different color, and that means it's executable now. But if it doesn't run, don't worry. But for fun, assuming that this was actual code, you would want to run it before you commit it and make sure that it actually works. And so you can see that it does. Okay, so now my favorite command, git status. I type this all day, every day. And oh, I'm sorry, you can't see the red very well. But the red says hello.sh, so red just means that Git is not tracking that file. And so let's git status. And so now Git has these lovely, really, really helpful prompts that says use git add to add your file. So we'll do git add hello.sh. And tell me if I go too fast, because I talk really fast sometimes. And now when we do git status, you'll see that it's green. It says new file. So now this file, now we're at this stage, so your file is now staged. So Git says, okay, we know you've changed it. We know you want to add your changes to your commit. So once you're ready with that and you've added all your changes to your yes.
We didn't have to like initialize a repository.
Right. So if you create your repository on the command line, you do git init, and then you have to like initialize it.
We downloaded it.
So yeah, because we created it online, I'd always do that because it's faster. It initializes the master repo for you and puts a README file in there so that you're all ready and you can just clone it and you can start working. Yeah, so you can just skip all of that. It is easier. That's why I would do it that way. Yeah, that's why you should always do initial. If you don't do initialize with README, then you have to go like initialize it yourself. But this way is faster. Yeah, so we're ready to go. So next step is our git commit. And this will pop up in whatever text editor you have it set up for. So if it's VI, I'm sorry, but mine is Emacs, and I love Emacs. So important things about commits is that your commit message should be descriptive and useful, and it should give everyone a short but concise description of the changes you made. So I'm going to say add hello.sh, and then you can add more description if you want. And you can ignore everything after the hash is commented out, so you can ignore it. It's just stuff that Git is telling you. So then when you save and close that file, that is what completes your commit. And you can see that it says one file changed. And it says that it created hello.sh. And now when we do git status, it says we're ahead of origin master by one commit. So now we're at this stage and we have our commit, but it only lives on our local machine. And it's not on the master yet. Any questions? Problems? Confusion? Yes.
I had a couple of command
Sure.
This is completely dumb, but then you can make it go stand up just in one thing. But because of my feed, all the annotations. Holy shit, there it is.
Yeah.
Never
Sorry
mind.
about it.
Problem solved.
Mine always opens up in Vim, and I like cannot use Vim to save my life.
Problem. I just forgot to set it as default.
There's a config file somewhere in Git where you can set your default
I know
editor.
where it is in Linux, not where it is in Mac. Sorry about that.
Same. I also know where it is on Linux.
Yeah,
Can't
I
help you.
actually solve that. I don't know what these things are. Okay.
Oh yeah, if you do -m, if you have like a really short message, you can do git commit -m like this. That's what I used to do, but now I when I was a software engineer, and you do messaging quotes like that.
I don't know. I tried closing now and instead saving them. I don't understand. It's supposed to be simple.
You could just do this instead. Do git commit -m. If you have a short message, this works better. But when you're in industry, your commit messages tend to be very long because you have to list all the changes you made. So it's easier to do in editor. But you can do this instead. So everyone finished their commit. Yeah, it's in the back. How's it going? You good? Okay. So now you should see that you're ahead by 1 commit. And so good practice is always to do a git pull before you do a push, just to make sure that you don't have any conflicts, especially when you're working on a software engineering team of 60 people, because there probably will be updates. So do a git pull, and it says already up to date because you haven't obviously changed anything. And then after you pull and resolve any conflicts, then we can do git push. And then it'll ask you for your username and your password, unless you have it set up not to do that. And then you'll get all this text, and the only important thing is that at the bottom it says, blah, 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 pushed it to master. So no error messages. So now our code lives on the master version. Yes?
Do you ever specify, like I gotta know how to do like git push or the master? Just like that.
Yeah, I don't do that because I'm lazy, but if you do git remote, if you type git remote, it will tell you what remotes are attached to. So you might have different versions of your master repo, and you might have different like remote endpoints that you're connected to. So in that case, you would have to specify which upstream, like which master version that you want to actually push to. But as long as you only have one, then you don't have to specify it. So I don't because I'm lazy, but yes. So normally you would do like git push origin / master, something like that. This is the same thing. So the origin here is like the name of the remote, and then master is the name of the repository. Actually the name of the branch, but yeah. Okay. Any other questions about that? Yes.
About push, I got this really long message I can see before about
Okay.
push.default is on set, its implicit value has been changed from master to simple.
Oh, that's fine.
And
They
underneath
changed
it,
stuff.
I'm like, should I be concerned?
No, that's fine. They changed some of the ways that Git works. So
Should I be worried about it?
no, you do not be worried. It's fine.
So it didn't ask you for the password or mention anything on the password, and I noticed that that's on your command line.
So you've been using Git before, so you probably have a config set up somewhere that has like your username and password, so that it doesn't ask you for it every time. I haven't done that yet, so it asks me for it every time. So if you want to be sure that your code has been pushed, you can go back to your Git homepage and then click on repositories and then click on your repo. And then there's this commits tab, and now it says 2. And so if you click, now you can see that the file is here, but you can also click on this commits tab. And this will give you a list of all the commits and who they're by and when they happened. So you can be sure that it's actually there. Okay. So did all of that. All right, so since you guys said you didn't remember how to use git reset, let's talk about git reset. So what happens to me all the time is that you make some changes and then you run your code and you're like, oh no, it doesn't work anymore. And I made so many changes and I don't know what I did wrong. I just want to go back. I want to undo everything I did. So to simulate that, just open up your hello.sh file again and just type in random junk. Now, obviously, as a bash script, this is not going to work. But pretend you made a lot of changes and you don't remember what they were. And you don't want to try to figure out which changes were good and which changes were bad. Or you know like one specific file that you messed up. So just add some junk code in there, close and save it. And now when I run it, it says, oh, command not found, because I messed up. And now I'm like, oh no, I just want to undo all the changes that I made and go back to the last commit I made. So there are several ways to do this. The first is with git checkout. So this is like if you have 1 or 2 files that you want to undo, and you have like a lot of other files where you want to keep the changes. So what you're going to do is git checkout -- space, and then the file name. And what this does is it says, just give me the most recent version from my repo of this file. Erase all my changes. So sorry, before we do that, if you want to see what happens, if you do git status, you can see that I made a change. And then if we do git checkout -- hello.sh. And now if we do git status again, you can see that there are no changes. So it has undone all the changes that I just made. Now we're back to normal. We're back to working. That's great. But what if you've accidentally committed that change? Oh, I shouldn't have closed that. Let's say you made some terrible change. So put that back. Put some junk code back there. And you're very busy and you forgot to run your code and actually test it. And so you're like, yeah, git add hello.sh, git commit. So add and commit that.
Why do we have to add it? Isn't it already being tracked?
Yes, so it's being tracked, but the changes that you've just made have not been registered yet. So you might have changed multiple files, and Git needs to know which ones you actually want to be part of that commit, because maybe you're not ready to commit some of them yet. So you have to add them every time before you make a commit.
And they use custom file.
Yeah. You can also do git add -- all, and that'll just add every change that you've made. And so now it's green, and so now we do git commit. Let's say update hello.sh. I'm sure it'll work because I didn't test it. Leave yourself a nice commit message. Okay, so now before you push it, I'm gonna make sure I'm doing this right here. Okay, yeah. So now let's say you've committed your change, but then before you push it to your repo, you're like, oh no, maybe I should actually test my code and see if it works. Oh, it doesn't work. I messed up. I want to undo the last commit I made. So we didn't talk about this command yet, but this is also my other favorite. It's called git log. Bring it to the top for you. So git log will show you a list of all of the commits that are in your repository. And if it's really long, you open it up in this thing where you can scroll back and forth. But right now, it just prints it because there's only 2. So you can see down here, here's your initial commit. Here's the adding that file. And this is the last one that we just made that we've now realized breaks everything. And so we want to undo that commit because we don't want to push it to the master because we don't want other people to see that we messed up, right?
Why do we have to like first commit without a message?
Which one?
Like the
This
very
one?
bottom one.
This is the message here, initial commit.
Oh.
This is the commit that was generated by GitHub when it initialized your repository and created that README file. So even though it says I did it, it was actually GitHub that made this. And then this is the one that I made, and then this is the one I just made. And it has a timestamp, and this is your commit hash, which is kind of like your ID for the commit. Okay, so let's say you realize this was a mistake and you don't want to push it, but you've already committed it. So what we want to do is undo this commit. But there are 2 ways of doing this. So we have git reset, and git reset has 2 options. There's git reset -- soft, which is the first one that we're going to do. And there's git reset -- hard. So git reset soft takes your commit and undoes the commit, but it keeps the changes that you've made. So you can fix them and then you can recommit it. But it erases the commit message and sort of goes back 1 step. Git reset -- hard does that, except it also undoes the changes and goes all the way back to whatever commit you specify. So after you do that, you want this thing that says head squiggly line 1. And what this is saying is head is the commit that you're currently at, which is this one. And so what this is saying is reset me back 1 commit. So we want to go back to this one, and soft says, but actually keep the changes, I just want to uncommit them. So let's go ahead and do that. Git reset soft head squiggly line 1. And now if you do git status, you will see that your changes are still there and they're actually still staged. You've just gone 1 step back from the commit and they're uncommitted. So if you do git log again, Now we only have those 2 commits. So we've kept our changes, but we've undone the commit. Any questions about that? And you can do this with as many commits as you want. So the head thing, you can do head squiggly line 3, 4, 5, 6, however many commits you want to go back. Although I wouldn't advise doing that. Okay. And so, yes.
If you do like head 3, does it keep all the changes still, or just moves it back?
If you do soft, it keeps all of the changes, but just undoes the commits. But you don't, so you do not want to do this for commits that have already been pushed to the master. You only want to do this for local commits, because otherwise you'll mess up other people's commit histories. Since they already have it, you can't really undo it at that point. We're going to go over how to fix that in a second. So for things that have not been pushed, the way to fix that is with git reset. And for things that you have accidentally pushed, we're going to do git revert, and we're going to do that in a minute. And I think we'll have time. Okay, so let's do the other version of this. So you can see from Git Status that I still have my same changes here. So let's recommit them. Okay. Commit message is not that important, so just type like I updated this thing. And the convention in the software engineering world is to put commit messages in the present tense. It's kind of like how you talk about like books as if they're happening in the present. That's just how you do it. Okay, so now we have our commit back. And now let's say we want to undo that commit and undo all the changes it did because it destroyed everything. So we're going to do exactly what we did before. Let me move this up to the top here. Git reset, but this time we're going to do -- hard. And it's usually set up to be soft by default. So if you don't specify hard or soft, it will keep your changes. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. But I always specify it just so I know what I'm doing. And so we're going to do head squiggly line 1. You can also do head caret. It's the same thing. But I like this version because it tells you exactly how many commits you're going back. So you're saying undo all the changes and the commits, go back 1 commit. So you're basically resetting the state of your repo to the way it was after the last commit. So after you do that, it says head is now at, and it gives you a short version of the hash and the commit message. So now if you do git log, you'll see that we only have those 2. And if you do git status, you'll see that we don't have any changes. So the fit's gone, changes are gone. We've saved the day. Yay.
That's really scary.
Oh yeah, the file has
Yeah.
changed.
So yes, the file has changed. So now if you open up if you've undone the changes, so if you open up your file, it's back to being new and shiny and working.
It's basically doing the soft reset and doing git checkout.
Basically, yes.
And
Yeah.
it just does that for things that in stage. Will it have other files?
If you, no, so I don't, actually that's a good question.
So it accidentally reverse contact directory.
That is a good question. I'm not sure how it works if you do a hard reset. No, I think if you do a hard reset and you have untracked changes, it will either undo them or it might give you an error message that says you have untracked changes. Please, you'll get this message that says, please commit or stash them. And we can talk about stash if we have time because I love stash. But I'm pretty sure that will give you an error message and say, just so you know, there are these other changes and we don't want to erase them. Yeah. Hard reset is like, everything is ruined, reset everything, revert, delete all my changes. All right, so now pretend you're having the worst day ever and you're working on this massive software engineering project and you accidentally make this mistake. So add this junk line to your file. And you're not paying attention and you didn't test it to see that it doesn't work. And so you were in a hurry and you did git add hello.sh. You don't have to type git status every time. I just do it because I like to make sure that I know what I'm doing. And then you did git commit. You said update hello.sh. This is exactly what we did before. So you're committing this change. But now let's pretend you weren't paying attention and you were like, yep, that's probably good. I'm sure it'll work even though I didn't test it. Git push. Push it all the way up. So add your change, commit it, and push it all the way up. Because this is, if you are ever like a software engineer, guaranteed this will happen to you because it's happened to me and like everyone I know. And it's fine when there are only like 2 people on your project, but when there are like 60 people on your project, now you've broken literally everyone's code and they're going to be mad at you. So you're like, oh no, I just realized I pushed this terrible thing that doesn't work at all. So yes. Oh, because I don't have my config set up to know it. But yeah, if you have yours set up and it doesn't ask you that, it's just, I need to do that. So once your commit has been pushed up to master, you can't do, we could do a reset, but it would only affect you. It won't affect all the other people who have now pulled down this bad change that you made. So in order to fix it in the master repo, you have to do something called git revert. And what git revert does is it just creates a new commit that does the reverse of all the changes you made in the previous commit. So if you look at your git log, and now you know that this is the bad commit. So what you should do here, copy this commit hash. And on Linux, it's Control-Shift-C. I think it's different on every operating system, but copy that. And so now what you're going to do is git revert, oops, spell it right, and then paste your commit hash. And what this is, so you're saying,
So that's the most recent hash that I'm copying.
yes, this should be your most recent commit, but you could do this if it was like you made another commit after that that was unrelated.
So I could just do whatever like hash I want, really.
Yes.
And revert all the way back to that one.
No. So what this does is it only undoes the change that was made by this one commit. So there's different ways of, there's other ways of like reverting your whole repo, but
Okay.
this says this one commit was bad. Maybe I made a commit after this that was separate, that didn't depend on this change, and that one was fine, and I want to keep that one. It's just this one that I want to undo this one line that I added, right? If you try to undo something, revert something that's too far back, you might run into problems if there are other code, if there's other code that depends on it. But if you just did it, hopefully you realize like right after you pushed it, so you can revert it right away. So do git revert and then paste your commit hash. And then you'll see that this generates another commit message. So really this is just another commit that undoes whatever you did in the previous commit. So since we added that line, this revert commit is going to delete that line and put us back to where we were before. And it generates this message, commit message for you. So this is perfect. You don't want to change this, just leave it there and save it and close it. And now, oh, sorry. When you look at your Git log, you'll see that you still have this bad commit here, followed by this revert commit that says this reverts this commit. Does that make sense? And so then you want to push this. Oh, and now I'm in less. So you can scroll up and down because there's a lot. And then type Q to quit that, if that's what you're in. And so now we do git status. We see we're still ahead by one commit. So now we still have to push our revert commit. It's a commit like any other commit. So now we still have to push it up to the master. So do a git push. Type in your username if it's not set up. Yeah. Okay.
There's a fun thing where there's just like a colon.
Yes.
I know you just explained it, but I totally missed what the hell.
Are you in the git log?
I
Yes.
was- and
Just
then-
type Q and then hit enter. You're in less, which is one of my favorite text viewers, which we can talk about afterwards. But Q will, if you're ever in one of those things, like if you do like a man or anything like that on Linux, and you're in this thing where you can like scroll around but not actually change the text, Q will usually just hit Q and enter, and that'll get you out of it. So now if you look at your,
So I want to
Yep.
git push. 'Cause it's
yes, so do,
Just git push.
yeah, just do a git, after you finish that commit, do a git push and that. And then when you go back and you look at your repo, now you see the bad commit that we made followed by the revert commit. So now all of the bad things we've done are undone. Yay. Okay, now we're gonna do something fun. And by fun, I mean, there's a lot of steps, but it's really important. So what I want you to do is you're gonna create another version of this repo in a different folder on your computer. So you're just gonna clone it again. So I'm just gonna open up a new terminal over here. And I'm gonna go to Git 2. So So I'm now at, so over here I'm in Git 2, and over here I'm in Git 1, or just Git. And so what you want to do is come over to a different folder, and then you're just going to clone the same repo again, which you would never do normally, but pretend that you're, say, your coworker who is also cloning this repo. So copy that again and do git clone, and then paste it. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm sorry. That's fine. We're already there. Ignore me. Okay. I was in the wrong window. Sorry.
I didn't do that.
I just created a new folder. Sorry, I cloned into the same folder again. Ignore what I just did. Do this. So over here, I've been working in this folder called Git.
Yeah, okay.
And so over here, I created another folder called Git 2, so it's a different folder. And then I did git clone again of the same repo. And then you can cd into your repo. And so now I have 2 versions of the exact same repo, which is what would happen if you had a coworker working on the same one. Okay. So what we're going to simulate here is a merge conflict, which, again, if you work on a large software project, this will happen to you, and you'll be like, oh my God, how do I fix this? So what we're going to do is pretend over here in Git 2, or whatever you want to call your folder, that you are your coworker, and you're going to go in, and so right now we have no changes, but we have all the changes that we've made before. So now you're going to go in and edit your hello.sh file. And you're going to change this text to something else. I like ice cream. Yay. So I'm my coworker right now. So my coworker comes in and decides that this should be I like ice cream instead of hello world. Or whatever you want it to be. And now you're going to go ahead and commit and push that. So I'm over here working, not updating my repo, and I don't know that my coworker has just changed this line. And so my coworker is going to go ahead and do git add hello.sh, git commit, there's hello world, ice cream. Makes a nice descriptive commit message that tells us what we did. And now what we're going to do is git push. Okay, so all we've done is we just went and we changed that line to I like ice cream, and we committed it, and we pushed it, and now over here we have it. So now go back to your original repo. Is everyone, sorry, that was really fast. Everyone on board? Change the line. Doesn't matter what you change it to. But don't pull yet in your other repo. So commit that, push it in your second repo, and then go back to your first repo. And now you're you again, and you don't know that your coworker has changed that file, so you're going to open up that file on your computer. It still says hello world, because we haven't pulled, and we don't know about their change. And now change this to something else. My version is better. Or whatever, something different. Because you don't know that your coworker has made a change. And you're going to do the same thing as before, except you're not going to push it yet. So you've changed this line, so you're going to git add, hello.sh, git commit. You don't have to add this blank line, by the way. I just do it because it looks prettier that way. So you're going to commit that, but don't push it yet because you're a good software engineer. And you remember that you're supposed to pull before you push. So now if you look here, I'm sorry I can't do them side by side because it'll be too small. But if we look at my git log over here, we see that I have this commit message updated because mine is better. And over here, my coworker has changed hello world to ice cream. So now we have 2 different commit histories. But they pushed theirs first, so theirs is in the master repo and mine is not. So everyone have 2 different changes in their 2 repos. Good. Okay. So now over here, You're like, okay, I've made a change. I should pull before I push. Make sure that I'm up to date. Now you do a git pull. And then you get this message that says conflict. And you're like, oh no, automatic merge failed. And so the auto merge is just what Git usually does. If you make a change that doesn't affect someone else's change, it will just put both of those changes in and everyone will be happy. But your change conflicts with the change that your coworker made because you changed the same line. And Git doesn't know which one of you is right. So now what we need to do is we need to fix the conflict and recommit it. So now if you do a git status, they have these really helpful messages. It says fix the conflict, then commit the results. So we're going to do that. So if you look at git status, I know this is hard to see. If I highlight it, you can see it better. But this says both modified hello.sh, and that means that you modified it and also someone else modified it. So if you open up that file, you're going to see a bunch of new things in here. You're going to see this, which at first you're like, what is this? But what this basically means is that it's showing you both of the versions that exist so that you can pick between them or you can merge them somehow. So head means this is the version that you currently have in your repo. And this is the version that's on the master. And this is the commit hash that generated that version. And this line is separating them. So these are the two versions. And so a lot of times what happens is that you actually want both, because maybe they added something and they just added at the same line. You want both. And then you can just delete all this white stuff and recommit it. Or maybe they did something and then you did something, but those things were similar. So you might want to say something like, you might want to merge them. And my version's better because I like ice cream. You come to a happy compromise, and then you just delete the rest of this. It's very important that you delete this white stuff, or else your code will not run. So just get rid of that once you've fixed it. And there could, if there are multiple places in the file where you have conflicts, there will be, you'll see one of those chunks for each of those. So change this and get rid of that stuff. So now we have a clean file again, and so go ahead and save and close that. And then you should probably run it and make sure that it works. It does. So now it says you have unmerged paths, which means you haven't fixed your conflict yet. And so now all we have to do is just commit this like we would commit anything else. So you're going to do git add, hello.sh. Then here it says all conflicts fixed, but you are still merging. Use git commit to conclude the merge. Thank you, Git. So we'll do git commit. And you can change this if you want. I'm just going to leave it because I'm lazy.
I think it's a good question, but like, which one did you fix the issue with?
You mean which repo?
Which, yeah, like a local.
My repo. So what happened was,
You cloned it twice though.
yeah, so pretend this is the master.
You cloned it once, you cloned it again, like why does one take precedence over the other? Does that make
Because
sense?
we pushed the other one first. So it matters which one gets pushed first. It doesn't matter when you commit it, it matters when you push it. Because otherwise the master doesn't know about it. So say this over here, this is your coworker. So what happened here was we both had the same commits, like 1 and 2. And then,
So the you in this case would be Git 2 folder.
yes, yes. Yeah, this was my Git 2. So this is your coworker. So they came in and they made 3. And so they committed this. And then they pushed this up here. So now on the master has these 3 commits. But you don't know about that. So you come over here and you make a different commit, let's say 4, which conflicts with this one. But so up here, what this commit, this has 1, 2, and 3. And so you commit this, and then when you try to push this up here, this conflicts, actually, sorry, this is wrong. I'm sorry. This would actually, if you tried to push this, what it would say is it would say, your repo is out of date, please do a pull before you do a push, because there are commits up here that you don't know about. So what actually happens is you say, okay, before I push this, I want to pull down these commits. And so you pull down 3, which conflicts with the one that you have. And so Git says, these 2 things are in conflict, you have to fix them. and then you fix them and you generate this new commit 5, which makes these two happy together. And so then what you actually have in your history is, so let's say this a little bit. Then if you go and you look at your Git log, you actually have all 3 of these commits here. So you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And 4 and 5 are both by you. So in my repo, I have this, my coworkers change here first because they pushed it first, followed by mine.
Meanwhile, once you push
followed
that,
by a merge, which fixes.
Meanwhile, once you push that, then you like repository is going to be at date.
Yes. So after I fix this, so I can't actually push this commit until I fix it. So now that I have both of these commits, the master is happy. So now I can push both of these up. And then, yeah, this person will be behind until they do a pull. And then when they do a pull, they'll get 4 and 5, and then they'll be up to date. So here is, now we can do a git push because we've resolved the conflicts. And now this should work because we fixed everything. And now if you go look at your, it makes more sense when there's like more than one of you, because obviously I made all of these commits, but in the real world, this one here would be made by someone else. So once you go look at your repo, you see theirs and then yours, and then this commit that fixes them and makes them happy together. Yes?
So you said the order of pushing is what like,
Yes.
the conflict? But
Yes.
If the first person that made the change and the other person pushed first, would it play the commits in the order they're committed or the order in which they were pushed? Would it be 4, 3, 5? If 4 was actually committed first, or 3 was still pushed first?
I'm pretty sure it's in the order that you pushed them, not the order that they were committed. So like if I had pushed number 4 first before you over here pushed number 3, then they would have gotten the conflict. And then the commit history would have been 1, 2, 4, 3, and then their merge commit.
Even if
Yeah.
the actual commit was
Yeah. So even if I committed mine 2 days ago, and then my coworker comes along and in 5 minutes they change it and then they push it because they pushed first, their version is on the master. So theirs takes precedence over mine because mine wasn't pushed. So it's whoever pushes their commit to the master first that wins. And then the second person has to deal with the conflict, which is always fun. Okay. So the moral of the story is when you see a merge conflict, don't panic. Just open the file and figure out how to combine those 2 things and then commit it and you'll be fine. Okay, any questions about that? All right, let's talk briefly about, oh, also I'm supposed to tell you that you can leave if you want to, but I could talk about this for hours, but I have a couple more things I want to talk about, so I'll probably go until like 7:30, but you're allowed to leave if you want to. Let's talk briefly about Git Stash because it's one of my favorite things. So ignore your second repo now, you can just go back to your first repo. You're done with your coworker for now. So there's a thing called Git Stash. First of all, make a change. So I don't have any changes, so I'm going to go edit my file. I'm going to go here. Just add a line. Doesn't matter what it is. Save it. That's it. Now I have this change. But now let's say that I want to pull to my repo, or I want to do something else or something, and I'm in the process of making changes, but I'm not ready to commit my changes yet, but I don't want to lose them, but I don't want them to get in the way of me, say, pulling down new changes that might conflict with them or something like that. But I want to keep them. So the way you do that is with Git Stash. So if you ever get that message that says, please commit or stash them, and you don't want to commit them, you can stash them. So what Git Stash does is it basically takes your bundle of changes and it puts them on a stack over to the side where they're not in the way of your repo. So after you do Git Stash, you'll get this message that says head is now at blah, blah, blah commit, which is our last commit. And if you do Git status, you'll see that you now have their changes. But actually, those changes are safe. They're just on the stash list is what it's called. So if you do git stash list, this will tell you what things you have stashed. And these are just sets of changes that are uncommitted. So it's almost like a commit, but it's not actually committed. It's just like a clump of changes. And you can add as many things to this stash list as you want. You can then go make another change and then stash it, and it's a stack. So you can get back whatever is on the top. So if you want to get that change back, because now we don't have any changes. So say you do a bunch of stuff, maybe you update your files, maybe you pull something, and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to keep working on those changes and I want them back. So you can do git stash pop, and that will just give you back whatever changes were on top of your stack, which would be the most recent one that you pushed onto the stack. And now we have our changes back. And you can do this as many times as you want. And the other thing you can do is if you want to leave it on the stack, but also reapply the changes. So do git stash again, put it back on the stack, git stash list. We have things on our stash. But if you've done a poll or something that these changes might conflict with, there's a possibility that this could fail if there's some sort of conflict. So if you want to keep your changes safe, you can do git stash apply. And what that will do is it will apply your changes, but if you look at your git stash list, they're also still on your stash list. So if applying them doesn't work for whatever reason, they're still there and you can try to apply them again later. But now we have our changes back, and then you can go on and add them and commit them and whatever. So that's how stash works. It's very useful when you have large projects if you're not quite done with your changes yet. Okay, since we still have time, let's talk about branches. And then we'll talk about forking and pull requests. But first we'll talk about branches. So you might have noticed that it says like merge branch master, and you're always working on branch master. So I'm actually just going to show you this page. So this Atlassian website has a lot of really good Git tutorials if you're interested in that. And yeah, there's like beginner, collaborating, and they have these really lovely pictures of branches. So up until this point, we've been working on this branch, which is master, which you can think of as the main branch. So all the changes go into the same stream. It's a single stream, one commit after the other. But say that you want to work on a feature and you want to commit more than once before you push them all up to the main line. So there's this philosophy of commit early, commit often, just like save early, save often. So when I was a software engineer, for instance, I might have 2 or 3 different features that I'm working on at the same time, and I might also want to do bug fixes. And I don't want those sets of changes to get in the way of each other. So say I have a big feature that I'm working on, and I want to have multiple commits, but I don't want them to get in the way of my bug fixes on the main branch. So for that, you can create a separate branch, which basically just takes the state of your repo and then makes a different stream of changes. And so then you can make as many commits as you want. And they're kind of in their own isolated bubble. And then when you're ready, you can merge all of those changes back to the main branch at once. And you can have as many branches as you want. So we'll make a branch in a second. And you end up with a lot of branches usually. So first type git branch, and you'll see that you have one branch currently, which is called master. And that little star means that that is the branch you are currently on. And that's the only one you have. So let's say I'm one of my changes here. Let's commit this. Otherwise you'll get in trouble. Or you can stash it, it doesn't matter. You can't change branches with uncommitted changes because Git doesn't know if you want to keep those changes or not. You can cheat by stashing them and then changing branches and then applying them, or you can just commit them to whatever branch you're on. So I'll just say hello.sh more code. I'm just going to commit them to make my life easier. Okay, so now if you look at Git branch, you have one. So we want to make a new branch. And the best way to do that is to do git checkout -b. So git checkout is also used for commits, but it's also used to switch branches. And so what this does is it says, I want to check out a new branch. So create a new branch called my branch, and then take me to that branch. So once you do that, it says switch to a new branch, my branch. And now if you do git branch, you'll see that there are two. And the star is next to my branch, so that tells you that that's the branch we're currently on. And if you, anytime you want to go back, as long as you don't have uncommitted changes, you can do git checkout master. And then, so see, here it says, actually, this is pretty fun. So it says switch to branch master, we're ahead by one commit. So if you do git log, you'll see my last commit there. Update hello.sh, and then go back to my branch. So the -b is just for creating a new branch. After that, you can just do git checkout, and that will switch you. Okay, I do have that one. That's what I thought. So at whatever point you create the branch, that's the commit history you have. So now if I went back to master and made a new commit, that commit would not exist on my branch, right? And I can make as many commits as I want here and then merge them back. You can also pull from the master branch to your other branch if you want to, which you usually only do if you're working on this feature for a long time. So let's make a commit on our branch. So if you do git branch, you see you're on this branch. So let's make a commit here. So just edit your file again and add a new line. Okay, yay, more code. And then now you see that this is here. Add, pretty sure it's --all. Yeah. So if you're feeling lazy and you have like a million files and you just want to add all your changes, you can do git add --all, and that will just add everything. And now we can do git commit. Okay. Now we have this new commit, and it only exists on this current branch. And so now what we want to do is pretend you've made a lot of commits, and you're done with your feature, and you want to merge them back into your main branch. In a lot of environments, you just like commit them directly. You just push them directly, but you probably want to merge them first to make sure that they still work with all the other changes that have been made on your master branch. So what you want to do is go back to your master branch to do git checkout master. And now if you do git branch, you will see that you're on your master branch. And if you look at your commit log, you will see, I think that we don't have that one. Let me double check this. Okay, those commit messages were too similar. So you notice that on my second one here, on my branch, I have this new commit, add more code. And up here, I did not on master. So now we want to merge my branch into master, and it's really easy. Oops, check out master. You want to go back to the branch, your main branch, and then do git merge my branch. Well, that's so easy, so straightforward. So,
stupid question. You didn't need to git checkout on that one.
Oh, sorry, I probably just hit the up arrow. If you don't know about the up arrow, it's my favorite thing ever. You can go back. The day I discovered this was like the best day of my life. I was like, I don't have to retype all my commands. Oh my God. You can go back all the way. Also, fun thing, Control R. Control R is a reverse command search. So it searches your command history, and it's a little finicky. So if you stop typing, sometimes it does weird things, but oh, this one's working. So you can just start typing a command and it'll go back. So if you had like a really long command, you can just type the beginning of it and you can find it again. And then you can just hit enter and it'll run that. Yeah.
We'll only take one file, more like to all of them, the alt file, or is it possible to take multiple files on one?
I'm pretty sure you can feed it multiple. I forget what the separator is, but I'm pretty sure it's like, I think it's actually just a space. Yeah, I think you can just put as many files as you want. But like stars, yeah, absolutely. So if you have like a whole folder, you can do like code/star, and that will definitely work. Yeah. So now here it says fast forward, and it says one file changed. And so now if you look at your Git log, you will see that we now have this other commit that we made on our other branch, and it's now in master, and everything's happy. And this will work fine as long as those commits that you've made do not conflict. And if they do conflict, you will get the same merge conflict message that we got earlier. Are there any questions about that or anything I've said so far? Okay. If not, we have 15 minutes left, so let's talk about forking and pull requests. And what we're going to do for this is, since we have an even number of people, I'm going to have you fork someone else's repo and then make a pull request. So find a buddy, and I'm also going to fork one of your repos. So all you need to fork is go back to your GitHub page. And do you want to do this? That's okay. Okay. So what you want to do is go to your page, fork, and go to your, so just type in you can't see the URL here. It's just github.com/their username/their repo's name. And then you're going to click this little button up here that says fork. And I'm going to steal one of your repos and fork it. What's your repo name?
My repo name is L. It's just, this is his. L Coon. COON. Slash, not fancy repo.
All of in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, do I see?
You can tell her too. We can both fork her repo. That's the beauty of it. Okay. So I'm gonna go fork her repo. I'm pretty sure I can do that. That was public. All right. So here on their page, you're gonna see this button that says fork. And I see that there's already one person who's forked it. Good. So you click that.
There wasn't. There's a ghost who forked their repo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you fork your own repo? Interesting. Okay. So now what you'll see here is that it says S. Jedley, which is me, / not fancy repo, forked from L. Coom, not fancy repo. So now what I have is my own master copy that lives on GitHub of her repo, because I don't actually have push access to your repo. So if I want to make a change, I can't just be like, oh, push to that, because you haven't given me permission. But say I want to make a change. So now that I have this, I'm going to clone it. So this is just like what we did before. Except you're cloning your copy of your partner's repo. So clone that. And now you should have their repo.
There, like, our copy of their repo you need?
Yes, so actually what you have now is a copy of their repo. So say this is your repo, yeah. So then you have a new master.
So yeah.
So this is the forked master, and then you have a local here. So this went over here, and now you pulled it down here. So now what you want to do is make a change to their repo. So just open their file and add a line like we did before. Okay. And this is going to be fun because our changes are probably going to conflict. That's fine. So make a change to their repo and then commit it like you would any other commit. Commit. So since you have your own copy, you can just go ahead and push this change to your repo, if my internet will work. Okay. So everyone make a change and push it to your repo. Everyone get to push their change to your repo. So once you do that, notice that this is my copy of the repo. Now I have all of her commits and my commit, but she still doesn't have my commit because this is my copy. And now I want to tell her, hey, I've made this lovely change and you should adopt it into your main repo as well. And so what you want to do here, where's the button? So if you go back to the main page for this repo, you're going to click this button that says new pull request. And so since I can't push to her repo, I'm going to ask her to pull from my repo to her repo. So click this button here that says new pull request. And then this should all probably be fine. But if you had multiple branches, you could specify the branch that you wanted. So this is saying, I want to take this code here and push it up there. So that should all be fine. Then click create pull request. And oh, that's nice. It adopts my commit. Since I only made one commit, it adopted my commit message, but you can put whatever you want here. And this just tells them why you think they should adopt your change. And then if you scroll down, it will actually show you the changes that you've made. And then when you're ready, click create pull request. How's it going? Yeah. So if you
How do I know when I have a pull request?
So if you go back to your own repo.
I got sup and improved hello.
Yes. So that was me. Sup is him. Okay. You just use his. Don't worry about mine. But if you go back to your own repo, under the pull request tab, you should see that there is a pull request. And then what you should see here is some comments.
Elliot.
Mine says
I like chocolate.
how can she get a complete sentence?
Do you have 3?
Yeah, when I said sup.
You have 3. Wait, before you do that, so notice that there's comments here, and then if you go over to, so you can see the commits so there could be a lot of commits here. And so if someone had given you a pull request, what you would want to do is go over to this files change tab here. So you can actually look at their changes. And in the software engineering world, code review is a huge thing. We do it all the time. And at Amazon, you have to have 2 other people review your code and approve it before you can merge it to make sure that it's good. So some things that you want to look for in reviewing someone's code is obviously errors, like things that are going to cause problems, but also overly complicated code, undescriptive variable names, something that doesn't make sense that needs a comment, things like that. And so over here, these red lines are things that have been deleted, and green are things that have been added. So this is a new line thingy. Don't worry about that. But you see this little plus here. So if you click on that, you can make a comment on a specific line of the file. Like if you notice that there's an error or a typo, or you say, hey, can you add a comment that explains this? So this is my pull request, but if this was, you wanted to comment on him and give him feedback, you can add a comment per line. Or you can also go up here to review changes, and you can leave like an overall comment if you want to. Yeah, and this does not accept it. So like if you want him to make some more changes before you accept it, you can add some comments. And then over here in the conversation tab, you will see all of your comments, and then they can respond to those comments. And then you can actually update this pull request by pushing new commits to the same branch that you have the pull request open on, and they will automatically get added, and they'll show up in this conversation tab like this. And then you can go back and you can look at the diff again. And then you should see, I don't see it because this is mine, but then down here somewhere there should be an option to merge the request once you're happy with it, or you can just leave them a comment. Does yours say merge?
Mine, I just clicked it. I just clicked me.
So click on that. Okay, scroll down. Yeah, so here you see this button. I don't have it, but you do. So
So what did ticking off the check mark?
I think that just turns off like the
Yeah.
It says nobody access.
So I did nothing, basically.
It just says I've seen this happen. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna merge this whole request.
Yeah.
Confirm merge. You win.
So if this is your repo down here, you will see. Oh no, and see now mine says this branch has conflicts because it conflicts with this change, but that's fine. But on yours, you'll see this button here that says merge pull request. And good practice for code reviews is if someone leaves you a comment on a specific line, you should address all comments, even if you're not going to change it. So if they say, hey, why don't you change this variable name to this other thing, you should explain why you're not going to do that.
So let's say this is a single comment is the starter review.
Which button? This one?
Yeah. And you're looking at things and press the plus button.
I guess that's if you just
Or
want
just
to.
over a line, the plus button.
Yeah,
When you hover over a line with your cursor.
this thing?
Yeah. It's like add single comment starter reviews.
So I think that this just adds one comment submits it, but if you have like a lot of comments,
Right.
like when you're normally doing a software engineering code review, you like add a bunch of comments and they're all get like clumped together, and then you can make like an overall comment, and then that all gets posted as one chunk as opposed to a series of separate comments. But if you only have like a comment on this one line, then you can cut. Yeah. So yeah, so you should try to address all the comments that people make, even if you're not going to change it. Just explain why you're not going to change it, and then if someone gives you a pull request, once you're happy, you can merge it. Any questions about that? Or it's 7:26, so any questions about anything that we talked about today or other things that you want to know how to do with Git? Is there anything I didn't cover? Oh, the only thing I didn't cover is rebasing, which you probably won't need to do, but if you like mess up horribly, you can reorder commits and combine commits. Oh, the one thing we should talk about that we didn't talk about yet is commit amend. If you didn't know about this, I'm gonna go back to my. Say I like you made this lovely commit, but there was like a typo, and you were like, ugh, I just want to fix that typo, but I don't want to make a whole separate commit. I have this last commit here. Let's say I'm just going to go in and I wanted to change, or like, oh, I forgot to capitalize that, and I want to change that. So you're going to do everything exactly like you did before, except so you're going to add it. Except instead of creating a new commit, you're going to do git commit -- amend. And this just says, oops, I meant to add this to the previous commit. And this, you only want to do this if you haven't pushed the commit yet. So you want to do git commit amend, and notice that opens up my previous commit message. And so this basically just rolls back your previous commit, adds the new change you made, and then recreates the commit.
Like updating.
So it's just like updating. It's updating your thing that you've already committed. So now if you look at my commit history, it's exactly the same as it was before, but I've made a correction and it's in the same commit. So if you haven't pushed it yet and you just want to make a few small tweaks, you can do that.
What happens if you already pushed it?
You can't do that. Then you just have to make a new commit. Yeah, well, if that commit that you just made was really terrible, then you should revert it and fix it and then repush it. But if you just like, there was something that you forgot to add, then just make a new one. But yeah. I did this all the time when people reviewed my code. Like people would give you feedback and then you would make changes and then you would just amend your same commit so that you didn't have to make a bunch of ones. So it's very handy. Any other questions about Git? Or Linux, because I love the Linux command line. I love it so much.